It's episode 698. We've been talking all week about making a commitment, and I'm going to make a commitment to you right now. Tom and I are going to have amazing discoveries of the week coming up shortly on today's Antidote.
Stay tuned for today's Antidote, brought to you by the Renegade Success Network. Today's Antidote features a healthy dose of thought-provoking insights and information for business owners, entrepreneurs, leaders, and nonprofit professionals. Each day since March of 2020, this program has offered that one thing to help you continue on your own unique pathway to success. And now, Renegades, we bring you Bob Graham and Tom Brush.
Hey, Tom, good morning. It's Friday. It's actually Wednesday and we're recording Friday, so I don't know what day it is.
Okay. Good morning. How are you doing?
I'm good. I feel like we've done a couple of these today.
Probably because we have. So, a little recording. As I mentioned earlier, I'm going out of town. So I'm out of town as we speak. And so we did some recording on these to make sure that we still brought you our value every weekday morning at 7 a.m. on today's Antidote. And yes, this is our daily broadcast and podcast where we share our thoughts and ideas around a variety of topics each weekday morning. This week, we've been talking about making a commitment. And as we go through that conversation today, we're going to share our discoveries of the week, those things that we weren't maybe sure about or weren't as clear around when we started the conversation, that we now have found some clarity as we talk about making a commitment, that hopefully you'll find some value in that as well. And if you've discovered something this week around making a commitment, we'd love for you to share it in the comments. As Bob mentioned, we are recording this, so we won't be able to share them on the broadcast, yet we will go back and respond to them. So please feel free to share them. And most importantly, your comments might help someone else figure out how to take their next step along their own unique pathway to success. So please feel free to share your value. If you would prefer, you can always share your value inside of our groups, our Facebook group, the Ring of Renegades, or our LinkedIn group, the Renegade Success Network for Leaders, because we know people in there are always looking for things. And this discovery doesn't have to be around making a commitment. It could be about something else you discovered this week that might be exactly what someone else in the group is looking for. So with that, before we start our conversation, though, and share our discoveries of the week, we always do our celebrations. Bob, what are you celebrating today?
I'm celebrating that we're back up to 1,200 people in our Facebook group. We had 1,200 about a year ago. It kind of dipped down a little bit to 1,100, and we're back up at 1,200. That's 1,200 renegades, self-identified renegades out there. Awesome. That is amazing to me that, in under 3 years, we went from 0 to almost 1,200.
I thought it was over 1,200.
Over 1,200, sorry.
That's okay. Yes, I would agree. I think it's awesome. And we welcome anyone else who's listening to this who's not yet a member, because maybe they think they're not a renegade or they're not sure what that means. Well, here's the beauty. We all have a renegade inside of us. We just have to find a way to embrace it. And how you define being a renegade might be a little bit different than how we do. And that's your choice, because you are the one crafting and creating your own unique pathway to success. That's what renegades do. I love that.
And you might know someone who's a renegade who you should invite into the group.
Absolutely. We would welcome you to invite people to become part of our ever-growing community as we try to spread the message about the renegades that you could embrace. So thanks for that celebration. I love it.
How about you?
My celebration today is that I get to do something that I get to officiate girls and women's lacrosse a lot. And most of it is in Maryland. Maryland, New Jersey, Delaware.
The Mid-Atlantic.
The Mid-Atlantic mostly, which is great. Today I get to, tomorrow I get to start participating in a tournament in Tennessee, where the interest in lacrosse is growing. Clearly not as large as it is in the Mid-Atlantic. And so officials out there are learning, and they don't get the opportunity to see as many games as we do in the Mid-Atlantic. And one of the things I've discovered is I really like meeting and officiating with officials I've never met before, and just sort of trying to understand, why they got into it, especially in an area where it's not that big. what are the things that they're trying to discover about their own game and the skill set that they have. And I think it provides me an opportunity, because I have a little more experience, to be in a little bit of a leadership role and share my value with those who maybe don't have as much experience.
Nice.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
I like that. That's cool.
Yes. All right.
How many games will you officiate over the weekend?
I don't know. I haven't seen the schedule yet. It's supposed to come out today. So I would imagine somewhere between 6 and 10, I would think.
Okay. Well, that's a fair amount of officiating.
It's good running up and down the field. I like it.
Okay. All right. You'll be tired come Monday.
Yeah, especially because we're planning to drive back Sunday after officiating all weekend in an 8-hour drive. It'll be interesting.
Good luck on 81 on I-81, an 8-hour drive. That'll be impressive. Figure about 10 if you're doing it Sunday night.
Yeah, well, hopefully it'll be late enough that most people are already at their destination.
Better you than me.
Yeah, so we'll see. All righty, Bob. So all week we've been talking about making a commitment, and we've gone through, our episodes have been what it means. We talked about the benefits. We talked about how long are you committing to whatever it is you're committing to. And yesterday we had a conversation around the challenges. So today we have the opportunity to share what we've discovered this week. Would you like to kick us off?
I would. And, it fascinates me. Every week I find some discovery that's not what I expected. And the discovery this week was, I thought of commitments as ironclad. You have to honor them all the time, every moment of your waking hours. And I think what I've learned this week is that the commitments we make to ourselves and to our business can often they're the overarching thing that we're trying to accomplish, but the day-to-day can change. So I talked earlier in the week about how I'm trying to do a morning routine that involves some meditation, some exercise, some journaling. And I'm committed to doing it until December 31st. But it's Friday morning. We don't have a program. And I probably was up late last night watching the Ravens game. And the odds of me doing this morning, because I have an early meeting, are slim to none. And I would beat myself up about it and probably stop doing it at that point and never done it again. And instead, I can see that it probably makes more sense for me to get up Saturday morning and say, let me pick it back up where I left it off on Thursday. And I think that's something that I never really thought about. I really thought about, once you break it, it's over, goodbye. And there are things like that probably are that way. If you make a commitment to a person, if you get married and you stop it, you can't go back on, you can't play around. But within our business, it's not that level of commitment usually. And even when there is a commitment, I think the other part of it that I've really thought about is the idea of communication, that there's got to be communication, especially if you're involving a group or team or two individuals around what you're trying to accomplish and what the overarching commitment is, so that when there's conflict, because as we saw yesterday when we talked about challenges, there's going to be conflict. We're going to have competing things that we have to do. I've got to pick up my kids from school today, and that means I can't be at a meeting at 4:00. Those are in conflict because, wait, you said you work till 5. Well, I got to pick up the kids because of this. We have that challenge all the time. And I think it's how we address those challenges that ultimately defines how successful we are in achieving what the commitment is really trying to support. Because if you think of the commitment really is the tool to get to something we say that we value. If I want to be a great leader, having weekly meetings is a tool to get there. So I commit to having weekly meetings. But there may be a week where I don't have a weekly meeting because everyone's on vacation, or they're sick, or I'm sick. And that doesn't mean that commitment to being the best leader I can be goes away with the failure to comply with that commitment. It's a lot there. I know.
No, I just was thinking about it, and I was because I've been trying to think about what my discovery of the week is, and I think there's a few of them. The one that I don't know that was a discovery, but it was interesting to me, and was the whole conflicting commitments and how do we value and balance that. I think the other that popped up to me early in the week was the idea of actually setting a timeline for how long that commitment will last. Because I think that, again, allows us the opportunity to evaluate. And it's not okay, I'm making this commitment to something that I've never done before, and I'm expecting that I'm going to do it forever and it's going to serve me the way that I think it's going to serve me today. And I think that that's one of the misconceptions about commitments, is that I think, as you sort of said, people just believe that this is an everyday thing, or I've, as you put it, failed. And I think that's
that's
really,
the language most people use.
Yes, it is. It is. As you know, I don't like to use that language, so that's why I put it in air quotes.
The podcast people don't know you put it in air quotes.
Oh, that's true. Fair point. Fair point. I sometimes forget that there are people, that everybody isn't watching us. So I think that those are the challenges. One of that we face is that, we make this commitment and we're not always clear about it. I think that's the other piece. I think there's more that goes into it. As I shared, was my one thing yesterday. There's more that goes into it than just a statement about something that you are planning to do. Because I think, as you mentioned, there are so many other things that can happen and change in our lives, that having and that we have other commitments too, having some understanding of, where does this fall in my priority list? What are the things by which I might not fulfill that commitment this day or at this time? And I almost think that it's like, that it's really like a mindset. It's like, how do I get myself thinking around this thing that I think is going to help me get to where I want to get to? I don't know, because while it maybe has worked for someone else, that, we're all unique. And so it might not work for me. And it's something that I believe has some value. And so we say, okay, I'm going to commit to doing this thing. And, perfect example, I said that I was going to do outreach to 10 people each day. And I have probably done that twice in the 5 days. And I think my commitment was trying it between now and December 31st. And that the value of that is that I will learn what value that has for myself and my business.
But the overarching goal was to reach out to more people.
Correct.
So I could argue that if you reached out to 20 people this week, not 50, you reached out to 20 more people than you would have reached out to had you not set that goal.
Correct.
And made that commitment. So there is success in and of itself.
Yeah, there's still a value in what we're trying to do. And I think that it's interesting, because I think somebody said to me, maybe it was you, well, I only made, like, one day I made 5.
Right.
And you were like, well, does that mean you have to do 15 tomorrow? And I was like, no, that wasn't part of my commitment. My commitment was to try to do 10 each day, not an average of this. And I think what is my, if I were to say, here's a milestone, let me stop and take a look at it, because it's maybe been a week, would be that any outreach is going to be better than none. And, at the moment, I have had other things that I have prioritized over that. And so now it's a chance to stop and say, okay, where is this in the priority of my commitments? And I think that's why the commitments sometimes are often incomplete. And I think that's my discovery of the week, is that it's that taking the time to be clear, not only about what the commitment is, how long it's going to be, and what are the boundaries around which you are going to have grace or comfort, or, give yourself some space to not feel like you have to do it every day. I think that's the biggest challenge with commitments, is we make those types of commitments and then it's a struggle to figure out how are we going to do that, and how will we feel, as you mentioned, when we don't.
Right. Wow. It's been a really good week of discussion.
Well, I think it's an important topic. I think it's things that we, and I think the other thing in there is that we don't always think about all the commitments that we make. Those that we verbally say, and those that we, maybe agree to without really making a conscious decision around it. Yes. If your boss says we're going to have meetings, like, all right, you don't have a whole lot of choice, but I guess because you're in this role, That's a commitment that I have that someone has set up for me and I've agreed to because I stayed in the job. And so now how does that play into all the other things that I have going on? And have, and I used to do that sometimes with my team, is be like, okay, this is a meeting that you have to be at. Unless these scenarios happen, at which point it would be understandable that you couldn't make it. And then I would have to decide whether it made sense to keep the meeting or to reschedule it for another time, which sometimes created challenges for other people who had different commitments. So it's, I think, setting some of those allows you to not only give yourself, but to give others the sort of grace and acceptance that things are going to happen that we can't control. So I'm clearly not going to tell somebody they got to show up to a meeting if their parent just fell and is in the hospital and it doesn't look good. Like that's, right. I could be the person, nope, you're committed. This is what you said. Likely that person's going to say, well, the job doesn't mean that much to me and I'm going to move on.
Right. There's got to be compatibility among commitments.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Nice.
All right, everyone. If you have a discovery you'd like to share, as I mentioned, please feel free to put it in the comments, or we welcome your thoughts and ideas in one of the two groups that we have. And next week, lots of things happening next week. Halloween, episode 700.
Whoa.
It's kind of scary, isn't it?
It is scary.
So next week, we're going to talk about those things that are scary for us. Seems appropriate. And sometimes scary can be really good. It depends on how you define it. So
it'd be a spectacular week of programming. I can guarantee it.
Boy, it was going so well until a dad joke showed up. All right, everyone. Thanks so much for being a part of our show. We look forward to seeing you inside of our groups. If not, we'll see you Monday morning, 7 a.m. Eastern time for our next episode of today's Antidote. Have a great day.
Hey, embrace the renegading you. Do something this weekend that you might not have otherwise done. Be that renegade and see what happens.
I would encourage you not to be reckless.
Don't be reckless. There you go.
There will be a lot of Halloween celebrations, and you might even have an office Halloween. You may want to think about the choice of costumes, and how much punch you drink. So go out and be
that's
renegade.
An experience with this, Tom. Do tell.
No, I just have, I just know that sometimes in our renegadeness or thinking that we are being a renegade, we're really being reckless. And that is not
good advice as we head into a fraught weekend. Very nice.
Yes. So that trick you wanted to play on someone, think twice.
Okay.
Doesn't mean you can't do it.
I guess I'll have to send my Ryan Gosling costume away.
Take all those eggs and put them back in your fridge.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that.
Shaving cream, toilet paper, all those things that I know.
Appreciate that.
You're going to go out and
soap windows.
Yes. All right, everybody. Go out and make it a great day. We'll see you soon. Thanks for listening to today's Antidote, powered by the Renegade Success Network. The Renegade Success Network helps you confidently create your own unique pathway to success. To learn more about the Renegade Success Network and how you can take your next step, follow us on Twitter, connect on LinkedIn, or join the Ring of Renegades Facebook group. For full details on how you can join our community, go to renegadesuccessnetwork.com. Embrace the renegade in you.